This is Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Don't forget the newsletter every weekend on PrincetonResearch.com. So, hey, sign up for the newsletter. And, of course, you can talk to Charles Moskowitz at your leisure during the week and his texting service as well. So, guys, very pleasant good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you, Greg?
Hey, doing very well, doing very well.
Nice fall colors up here.
Nice fall colors? Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's the week and a half that almost makes it worth sitting through a steaming hot summer.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Nah, I'm sorry. I
don't know. It's awfully nice.
Actually, the year and a half that I was in prison in Bristol, Connecticut, Carol and I really enjoyed it. Of course, she was working at WBZ in Boston, Channel 4. And, I mean, you know, they used their helicopter like a taxi cab for the news crews. And she was in a different state every day. It was great for her, you know. But, you know, at Sports Center, they never let us out. But that's a long time ago, man.
Because you don't know how to behave yourself.
Well, that's true too. Actually,
I mean, you're not the Secret Service.
There's there's some truth to that, but. And you are right about not behaving myself, because I almost shut down a Boston Celtic basketball game one night. But that's a whole different story, and we certainly don't want to get into that here on this show. What about the German government, guys? All of a sudden, they're saying, well, no 2% growth. Let's make it 1.3 for 2015.
It's the same thing that our corporations did. They made the bar so low, it's almost impossible to not beat it.
Yeah?
Well, they've had major union problems in Europe where it costs so much per hour to get anything done. Italy and France, for example.
And they have don't they have unusually liberal vacation policies?
Yes, certainly. You get 2 or 3 months vacation.
Yeah, there you go. Well, now wasn't it the Germans who were blasting the Greeks and the Italians and the Spaniards and the Portuguese for their money problems a couple years ago?
Yes, and really, look, the Germans still have a 7.3% GDP surplus in their account deficit. We have a deficit. Most of the European countries have a positive deficit compared to ours. But they're sinking while we're growing out of ours. We were growing out of ours before this Iraq thing heated up again. I don't know how much that's going to cost.
Yeah. Well, we've got some, early movers so far this morning. It's nice to see green again.
It's almost gone.
Charts. Oh, no! Oh.
We were up triple digits. We're now up 30 points.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's you guys have been talking about corrections for what?
But Charles
3
likes
months?
gold, and gold appears to be moving better. And we have really 2 gold experts calling in today, actually. Chris Anderson, who is CEO of probably the finest gold company I know, Zyman. He's going to talk, and then Jack Wajeni is just going to listen in and maybe ask questions. Jack has been an investor in gold for 50 years and really knows the business. So Charles likes gold here.
It's not that I like the gold so much. I just think I'm kind of a dinosaur this way. There are some old relationships that have always existed, and being a disciple of it's never different this time. Lower interest rates generally weaken the dollar. Higher interest rates make the dollar stronger. So we've now had a move from 3% to 2.2%. Almost 30%, certainly more than 25% down in the 10-year rate. It kind of reminds me, the way that it's set up, it kind of reminds me of a line from a movie where, who's the guy from Mission Impossible, Greg?
Oh.
Tom
Cruise.
Yeah. Okay. So Tom Cruise is racing around, and his pit crew says, "Slow down." And he says, I haven't sped up. Everybody else has slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gaining on them. It's kind of like what's going on here. The dollar isn't strong. Everybody else is weak. And so, the dollar is now playing a little catch-up. But the lower it goes, really, the less, the less attractive it becomes. And so dollar-denominated assets like gold, like silver, and maybe even the oil will have to rally back up.
Yeah.
Everybody's concerned about the oil because of the gigantic slowdown in Europe, and on top of the slowdown in Europe, we also are losing a great deal of the risk premium that goes on. And, frankly, even that will have to stop. OPEC will start to cut back as things get cleaned up in Turkey and northern Iraq and Syria. Some of that premium will come out. But more importantly, if they can stop or slow down the theft of the oil that's being sold into the world markets at discount by ISIS and the Kurds, then all of a sudden you'll have a substantial bounce here. I mean, if you recall, everybody that we've talked to on this show, I've asked the same question. At what price does it become unprofitable? And you got the guys in the Permian.
Right.
The guys from Australia saying, "Oh, yeah, we make money at $68. Well, the move from $96 to $84 is
it's considerable.
Somewhat disturbing.
It is considerable.
But they're still profitable.
Yeah.
And so, they can survive down here. What they kind of want to look for, and what investors should look for, is even if we end up at a lower level, if it becomes stable, you may see less new drilling, but you'll see the guys who are drilling and pulling it out of the ground still at a discount from even $84. Will be very happy to stockpile it and, sell it into the market piecemeal and hedge their positions in the futures market, which, of course, was the original purpose of the futures market. Mm-hmm. It was not speculation. It was to help farmers avoid, the dumping of all of the crops at harvest time. We'll start to see a little bit more stability there. Oil stocks are really cheap.
Yeah.
The drillers are really cheap, but may not really recover as much. But another group we actually have been trying to buy, well, we traded it last week, chemical companies. Chemical companies use oil.
Sure they do. You bet.
As one of their major feedstocks for the products that they push.
Yeah.
So we had a nice trade in Mosaic. I've been trying to buy DuPont unsuccessfully. I've been warning for a couple of weeks, so I'm really not chasing in here. If you read the letter for the past 2 or 3 weeks, you'll see that we have shrunken the amount of funds in use so dramatically that this week we started with no positions. And that's one of the ways that I try and limit risk. I put on small positions, half positions, sometimes even less, so that we do participate in the upside. But, when instead of buying 20, you're only buying 10, if you get stopped out, it only costs you half of what it normally does.
Sure.
And so that's kind of the way that we've been working here,
Well, it was interesting. You talk about, OPEC and possibly shutting off the spigot or slowing it down. Apparently, That meeting must have been really testy, Charles and Mike.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden you had Venezuela on one side saying, shut them off, and then on the other side you've got Kuwait and Saudi Arabia said, no way. So they basically put Venezuela in its place and said, there's no way we're going to do this. And so there obviously is a split.
Well, you have to remember, Greg, that there are the equivalent of what we have, social programs.
Right.
That need to be funded.
Right.
And, when you've spent 100 years drilling oil and you probably have another 100 years worth under your feet.
Right.
Let's remember that these guys were selling oil for $8, for $4, for $3 a barrel.
Yeah.
And frankly, $20 a barrel wasn't really so long ago if you take a little longer view of what this market actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And so these guys, if they get $80 for it and they need the money, they get $80 for it. If they have to get 70, they get 70 for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as it starts back up and they're getting $90 or $100 or, 18 months ago, $147 a barrel for it, it sustains them. Some of these people cannot sustain their economies and their social help programs unless they sell it.
Yeah.
So they sell it.
Something on the early movers list that I am looking at here, apparently both Lowe's and Home Depot have been downgraded by SunTrust, which obviously SunTrust is a big Atlanta bank, which is down here as well in Florida. Where they're going to neutral from buy. I mean, that's not a huge deal, but, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Home Depot and Lowe's are both up 30%.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I would, if you bought a stock at 60, you'd have to be somewhat short of crazy to not be taking some off the table at $90.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, see, I knew you'd have an answer for that.
Well, and of course they're also citing, I saw that downgrade, and they're citing, diminished housing market. But, that has two sides of that coin, too. Because when people aren't building and buying new homes, they're making sure that the ones that they have are in the best possible shape.
Exactly. Sure.
And I guarantee you, there are more individual general contractors and do-it-yourselfers that go into Lowe's and Home Depot every single weekend to do something around the house to make up that slack.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're buying the DuPont November 6750 calls now, I believe.
As a matter of fact, we own them at $1.01.
And so there's another company that should benefit from lower raw material prices, such as oil.
Sure, you bet. Some interesting, I know we're going to be talking to Chris a little bit later. Newmont Mining, and it says this and other gold stocks are ones to watch. So it's going to be very interesting to hear from Chris. And that was today on CNBC. So, and just kind of a personal thing, seeing that I would imagine the two of you occasionally go out to dinner. Cisco is going to buy out its major competitor, U.S. Foods. The only reason I know about U.S. Foods, our son-in-law was working there for several years. But anyway, Cisco is going to buy out U.S. Foods. It should all be done by the 31st of October. So that was all the major stuff. Yesterday, I think that kind of a shocker to me is that, Citigroup, came up with their third quarter profits. But then they also announced that they were closing all retail branches in 11 different countries. And we're talking all of their South American presence, Central American, but even the Czech Republic, Egypt, and Hungary, citing security issues. Really?
It's not only security issues, it's the optics of it. If things are tough outside the U.S., you want to look more like a U.S. company.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
But yeah, there are problem areas, and frankly, I don't get what the whole Ebola thing is about. Only because it's difficult to transmit, and frankly, it feels more like, the magician. Look over there. It's all diffusing or trying to diffuse, what's going on in our government, just to give somebody, give people more of something else to focus on besides, the idiocy in Washington.
What's happening on November 4th? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I shouldn't have gone there. Oh, well. Hey, let's, hats off to, I guess, Boeing. And, I know you guys have loved Boeing stock forever. And, of course, Mike King makes his living flying on those jets all the time. Garuda Airlines of Indonesia. Mike, have you ever flown them?
I haven't flown Garuda, but I love Boeing.
Yeah.
But now that we know that they have new planes.
You betcha.
Maybe.
Yeah. Garuda signed, will buy 46 of the brand new MAX 8 737s. And they're going to take delivery, I guess, in 2017. So that's when that new plane...
That has got to be, with the exception of maybe the DC-6, that has got to be the most successful model airplane in history.
Well,
737s. Yeah. Everybody uses... I mean,
sure.
The entire fleet from Southwest.
I was going to say, yeah, where would Southwest be without
I mean,
the 737s?
They're relatively short takeoff and landing planes.
Yes, yeah.
And they go everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But, Boeing, everybody worries about what's happening next and, what about a recession and...
Airbus.
You're talking about Boeing. Boeing has, 9 years of backlog.
Yeah. Well, on this plane alone, just this model, the brand new the MAX, they've received 2,295 orders for that new plane from 47 airlines around the world. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The first one's not even going to roll off till 2017. That blows me away.
Well, that's because they didn't tell you, Greg. Those run on water.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, you know what? Somebody is, don't laugh. Somebody's going to do something like that.
Of course they are.
Yeah. Either that
or... none of the three of us on the phone right now will be around for that, but somebody will figure it out.
Or one of Mike King's buddies at Leo Motors is going to come up with a battery that's going to totally power a jet plane around the world. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah. I'll tell you. Now, do either one of you guys have T-Mobile?
No.
Yeah, okay. Well, and I don't either.
I'm an AT&T guy.
Okay, well, I'm Verizon.
Sorry.
This I know. I just got the brand new HTC One. Spectacular phone. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's everything I can do on my laptop, I can do there. And we're actually going to test out, seeing if it'll do Skype sports broadcasts. So we're going
that'll be cool.
Test that this afternoon. But anyway, T-Mobile in the U.S. is like licking its wounds yet again, as the third suitor in basically a year and a half has gone down the tubes to buy T-Mobile's U.S. unit. It's like, man. And they're saying they're too small to compete. And, of course, they just bought Metro PCS. So that's going to be interesting to see what's going on there. So how do you feel about Intel, guys?
Well, we're going to know this afternoon. We're getting earnings after the close.
Yep.
That's been a weak sector. The chip sector has been pressuring the market. It hasn't been helpful at all.
Is that because the PCs are almost going away in the U.S.?
I think it's part of that, Greg. I think that there's so much question about who's more in mobile or who's behind, and you have so many choices now. I mean, unless you work in an office every single day,
yep.
you don't really need a freestanding PC.
Yeah.
And some of the
welcome, Chris.
Hi, Chris. I'll get back
Hello?
to that, Greg.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Chris.